Olivia and Alex are legends in the legal world. She's the undefeated criminal defense powerhouse in the South, he's the civil litigation champion in the North. Everyone says they're two titans who will never meet. What they don't know: Alex married Olivia in secret 3 years ago. He decided to be her supportive husband, handling the mundane, attending events, leaving the light on for her. But now he's done pretending. Standing by the window, Alex hovers over his phone screen for 3 seconds, then finally dials the number he hasn't used in years. "Alan?" Larry's shocked voice greets him on the other end. "Am I dreaming? I'm making a comeback." His voice is soft but slices through the silence like a knife. "Are you serious?" Larry is so excited he drops his coffee cup, his voice shaking. "This is amazing. Do you know how much Olivia has overshadowed our firm? After you stepped down, she grabbed 20 of our major criminal cases. We've barely been able to breathe. People have been waiting in line for your return. This news is going to shake up the entire legal community." Alex looks up at his reflection in the glass. In his gray loungewear, his apron still carries splatters from tonight's stew. No one would guess he's a once dominant force in criminal law who reduced opponents to shambles. "So, does Olivia know about your real identity?" "She doesn't need to know. I plan to divorce her," Alex cuts in. "Next time we meet will be in court." After hanging up, Alex is about to turn back inside when his phone buzzes with a message from Olivia. "Drank too much, come get me." He stares at it for a long time. 3 years and it's always like this, like she's bossing around a subordinate with her succinct texts. Arriving at the nightclub VIP room, Alex hears laughter from inside just as he's about to push the door open. "Olivia, how many wins is that now? You're like unbeatable in this field. Is there any case you can't handle?" "You're the champ," someone chimes in. "If only Alan hadn't disappeared 3 years ago. He was your only match. Probably got married and won't be coming back." "Not sure about that. Olivia's been hitched for 3 years, never home, always working." "But seriously, Olivia not a fan of Alex after all this time? Isn't it obvious? She dislikes guys like Alex. She only married him after a drunken night. She desires a worthy opponent, someone like James, still unforgettable after all these years." Hearing James's name darkens Alex's eyes. He pushes the door open. The room falls silent immediately, everyone exchanging glances. Alex ignores them, scanning the room to find a drunken Olivia resting on the couch, her exquisite face softly obscured by the dim lighting. He approaches, helping her up, her arm draped over his shoulder. The familiar scent of citrus mixed with alcohol wafts over him, making him momentarily dazed. The last time they were this close was on that absurd night 3 years ago. He carefully places her in the back seat when she suddenly grabs his arm and pulls him in. Her lips brush his, and he freezes. In all their marriage, aside from that one night, she's never kissed him. A name escapes her lips in a murmur: James. Mistaking him for someone else. Pain pierces through Alex. "Do you really like him that much?" Olivia doesn't respond, just holds him tighter, kissing passionately. Her hot breath dances on his face, the car door firmly closed behind him, leaving him trapped. When the kiss ends, she whispers, still dazed with alcohol, "Don't leave me." Alex closes his eyes, taking a deep breath, then hands her a document from his bag. "If you don't want me to leave, sign this." Through her haze, she looks at him. Though he knows she's seeing someone else through him, she signs the agreement. "Olivia, once that cooling-off period is over, we'll both be free with the divorce decree." Alex gives a bitter smile, fixating on the signed divorce papers, his mind a whirlwind. The moonlight softly filters in, reminding him of the first time he met Olivia. It was during a big cross-state case. He had just won a massive lawsuit, leaving the defendants in ruin. As he exited the courtroom, someone lunged at him, clutching his throat. In his struggle for breath, a hand suddenly gripped the attacker's wrist. "Assaulting someone in front of the court? Trying for an added charge?" The voice was sharp, slicing through like an arrow. Looking up, Alex met a pair of clear, dark eyes that made his heart skip. He later learned that his rescuer was Olivia, his unknown rival. Following this, he frequently traveled to the South. He witnessed her decimate opponents in court and ponder cases by the window. He even started visiting her regular spots on purpose, but she never recognized him. Until the night he found a drunken Olivia at a bar. Gripping his wrist, her voice raspy, "Why must you leave?" He didn't get it, but before he could think, her kiss rained down like a storm. They spent the night together. The next morning, she stared at the bloodstains on the sheets in silence for a long time before saying, "Let's get married." Alex was quiet for a moment, nodded, and promptly quit his job, hiding his Alan persona. After marriage, she was always cold, rarely home, never sharing a bed. He thought it was just her nature, hoping his warmth could melt her heart. Until one day he found a photo in her study. A boy in a white shirt standing by the bridge at Cambridge, his smile dazzling. The words on the back pierced him like a blade, "If I can't marry you, marrying anyone else is the same." He discovered this was her first love, a renowned pianist named James. After graduation, James chose to study abroad, breaking up with her. Years later, she hadn't forgotten him. That night out, she drank heavily upon learning of James's new relationship overseas. For 3 years of marriage, Alex saw her frown over a birthday cake he made, throw dinner he prepared into the trash, and abandon him on the highway to rush to James's airport arrival. At that moment, Alex's heart truly died. He wasn't masochistic enough to chase a woman who didn't have him in her heart, let alone when she loved someone else. Why not return as Alan and let her be with James? After putting the divorce papers in his bag, he drove home. Dropping Olivia in her room, he began packing. The next morning, Olivia, groggy from a hangover, saw the packed suitcases everywhere. "What are you doing?" She frowned. Alex paused folding clothes, then resumed. "Just packing." Since getting married, such scenes were all too familiar. Olivia thought he was doing chores again, so she didn't really pay much attention and got up to wash up. After tidying up the last few things, Alex put the box back in its place and heard the doorbell ring. He wasn't sure who would visit so early. Opening the door, he saw James. James was casually dressed, with a gentle demeanor and a smile on his face. "You must be Olivia's husband, right?" "Hi, I'm an old friend of hers, James." "Is she home?" Alex stared at him for a moment, nodded, and stepped aside to let him in. Olivia happened to come out at that moment. Seeing him, her expression slightly changed. Her eyes were clearly joyful, but her voice remained cool. "Why are you here?" James looked down and pulled a document from his bag, handing it to her. "Olivia, you know I'm back this time to plan for a divorce. But my case is tough and no lawyer wants to take it. Can you help me?" Before he finished speaking, Olivia took the papers. "Okay." She then called her law firm's partner, telling them to reassign all her ongoing cases because she intended to focus on this divorce case. The person on the other end was in shock. "Olivia, our firm deals with criminal cases. Suddenly taking on a divorce case? Plus, from what you've mentioned, the client doesn't have strong evidence to prove the marriage is irrevocably broken. The court might dismiss the divorce petition. I'd suggest your client seek out a civil law attorney as they specialize in this area. Frankly, you don't need to lower your perfect win rate on a case likely to lose." Her words were aimed to dissuade Olivia with a clear emphasis on status and success. The speaker was on, so James heard it all and got a bit nervous. "Maybe I should look for someone else," he started to suggest. Before he could finish, Olivia decisively said, "No need, I'll handle the case. You focus on your tour and don't worry about it." Alex, watering the plants on the balcony, saw and heard everything. Based on his experience handling over 1,000 divorce cases, he estimated James had an 80% chance of losing. Olivia had no experience in divorce cases, so even with her talent, she'd need to familiarize herself with the laws, which would take time. Moreover, it was an international divorce involving complex legal regulations across different states. So despite being skilled, winning the case was seriously challenging. The old Olivia, cautious and rational, would have never taken such a thankless and potentially unsuccessful case. She agreed only because the person seeking a divorce was James, her unforgettable first love. Alex took his eyes off them. Over the next week, Olivia really set all her work aside, spending each day at home studying legal codes and case files. The light in her study stayed on all night. James came by daily to check on the case progress. She knew his preferences well enough to make coffee before he arrived. She even took time to trim and water the flowers he brought as thanks and replaced the study lamp because he casually mentioned it was too dim. Olivia never cared if Alex preferred tea or coffee, what kind of plants were in the house, what lights needed fixing, or if the drains were clogged. But with James, she seemed to shed her unapproachable genius lawyer persona, revealing a more genuine and warm side. Alex never saw this side of her before. Watching this familiar yet unfamiliar Olivia, he chuckled to himself without saying anything, quietly sorting through belongings he wouldn't take with him. After throwing away one last box of clothes, he returned home to hear her on the phone again. "Olivia, I'm really not skilled at divorce cases. Why not ask your old rival Alan? He's experienced, having handled possibly thousands of divorce cases without losing. Plus, he has tons of experience with international divorces, so he might have effective advice for you." Hearing this, Olivia paused. Wanting James to get divorced smoothly, she, with all her pride, decided to find Alan's contact details. Once she had his number, she punched it in. The next second, Alex's phone in his pocket vibrated. He took it out, saw the caller ID showing wife, and ignored it. The ringing echoed through the speaker in the living room. After 8 attempts without an answer, Olivia frowned slightly. James, offering her coffee, comforted her softly. Alan might be busy, so he couldn't answer. Let's try later. Olivia nodded but accidentally knocked over the coffee while hanging up, soaking the documents. The table's tissues were out, so as James turned to get more, she called to Alex instead to bring some. Alex grabbed a pack and delivered it, noticing she dialed the number 8 times with no name saved for it, just a number. Turns out Olivia didn't save his number. No wonder she didn't realize earlier that the person she sought was right there. Chuckling quietly, he went to the kitchen and made himself a simple breakfast. Holding a sandwich, he noticed her making another call, still being ignored. Olivia, out of patience, headed to the study. Maybe he changed numbers. I'll ask someone to get me North City law firm's contacts. Hearing this, Alex's gaze tightened. If she contacted his old firm, they'd surely spill all his details, being as gossipy as they are. And right now, he didn't want her to know those details, so he shifted his attention to James. James, I actually know a bit about what you're asking. In divorce suits, the plaintiff needs to. He briefly explained applicable laws, and James didn't quite understand, quickly calling Olivia over. Alex repeated his explanation. Olivia understood, but her eyes held complex emotions as she looked at him. How do you know these things? Alex sipped his milk, his tone light. I graduated in law from S University. 5 years ago, I saw a divorce case file much like James's. The plaintiff lost due to inadequate evidence, but the attorney used rules from international private law. Alex had handled that case personally, so he knew it inside out. Watching him speak with confidence and ease, Olivia suddenly realized he wasn't quite the stay-at-home husband she remembered. For the first time, she felt curious to ask about his past. But it wasn't the time, there was too much to do. So using his advice, she prepared the suit materials. Clearing up that issue, Alex didn't meddle further. He focused on researching recent legal changes and brushed up on laws, prepping for his comeback. Days passed with him immersed in his development, detached from outside affairs. Until Olivia approached him, revealing James had successfully divorced. And in gratitude for Alex's help, James invited him to a solo piano concert. No need. It was a small thing, Alex casually declined, turning back to his reading. Olivia walked over, trying to persuade him again. She accidentally caught a glimpse of the side of the book he was reading, noticing the name Alan on it. She was stunned for a moment. You like Alan? Alex followed her gaze and only then realized that she had noticed his habit of marking his books. He instinctively raised a hand to cover it and nodded in agreement. In the field of law, there were indeed many who admired Alan. Not wanting her to ask more questions, he changed the topic. I was just thinking of going out for a walk. What time is the recital? I'm going to change clothes and we'll head out. Lucky for him, Olivia didn't seem keen on asking more. She nodded, got in the car, and waited for him. At the concert hall, James sent his assistant to escort them to the VIP section. Olivia, it's good to see you again. You've been at every one of James's performances these past few years, no matter where. You always bring a bouquet of tulips, which are his favorite. I used to think you were single and wow, I didn't expect you'd be married. And your husband is so handsome. You must be very happy. Alex listened quietly, finally realizing that Olivia's frequent travels abroad weren't for work but to attend James's concerts. He lowered his head, recalling how every time she left, he carefully packed her suitcase, prepared her clothes, and even snacks and pastries in case she didn't find the food to her liking. He always hoped she'd have a smooth trip and return safely. But it turned out in her mind it was always James she was thinking about. He chuckled at his own foolishness and the melancholy of it all. But soon enough, she could openly pursue her true love and he would be free. In the VIP room, along with Alex and Olivia, there was a couple with a young child. After the performance started, everyone was absorbed in the beautiful music, even the 5-year-old listened intently. After half the program, there was a 20-minute intermission. The child let loose, jumping around the room with pure excitement. That brother is so amazing, playing such difficult pieces. How does he do it? Mom, can you tell me stories about him? The child's mother wasn't very familiar with James, so she opened Google and started reading aloud. Alex got up to use the bathroom, and when he returned, he heard Olivia's voice. The information on Google isn't accurate. Actually, he comes from a family of musicians and started practicing piano at 2. He was the top in every competition and was admitted without exams. A prodigy from F University's music department, the very first in 100 years. Even before he graduated, a world-renowned European piano master took him on as an apprentice. Her voice was calm, but it couldn't hide her admiration. The child's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "How do you know so much about this brother? Do you like him?" Olivia's face froze slightly, and she stayed quiet. The mom noticed the awkwardness, picked up her child, and scolded gently, "Coco, don't talk nonsense. The lady is married." Alex listened silently, his fingers involuntarily curling into a ball. Married or not, love is love and disinterest is disinterest. Olivia has never lied, so when faced with a child's question, her silence was already an answer. After the second half of the performance, James booked a restaurant to thank Olivia and Alex. At the entrance, Olivia and James ran into old classmates. Not wanting to make Alex wait, they had the owner lead him to the private room first. The owner was friendly and chatty. "Are you friends with Olivia and James? They used to be regulars here." Olivia always seemed pretty reserved but was so gentle around James. She'd peel crab for him and walk him 4 hours down the mountain when he drank too much. After James went abroad, Olivia still came, ordered all his favorite dishes, and stayed till close, sitting alone. "Now that he's back, I guess they'll be getting married soon, right?" Hearing this, Alex forced a smile, his voice stiff. "Maybe." Soon, James and Olivia returned. Like always, Olivia ordered a table full of dishes and handed the menu back to the waiter. When the food arrived, she put on gloves to peel the crab, naturally intending to place it in front of James. He paused for a moment, glanced at Alex, and reminded her. "It's Alex's first time here. Let him try it first." Olivia's hand froze mid-air, then redirected towards Alex. For the first time since their marriage, she'd taken care of Alex like this, but it was because of James. Looking at the neatly stacked crab meat on his plate, Alex spoke calmly, "I'm allergic to seafood. I can't eat crab." Olivia frowned. "You're allergic to seafood? But you always cook fish and shrimp. Because you like them." Silence filled the room, and Alex completed the thought in his mind. "And what I like was never your concern." Sensing the awkwardness, James quickly steered the conversation elsewhere, smoothly breaking the ice. Olivia joined in, chatting away with him. Alex stayed silent, like an invisible man, quietly eating. Waitstaff brought over fish soup just as a couple of kids ran by, pushing the cart over. A pot of freshly served hot soup spilled all over James and Alex. In a flash, Olivia instinctively pulled James to her side for safety. Alex was left alone, drenched in hot soup, enveloped in steam. His skin turned bright red, blistering with yellow bubbles, chilling to the sight. The searing pain made him break into a cold sweat. Seeing him suffer, Olivia's eyes widened just as she heard James behind her gasping in pain. She turned back, asking with concern, "What happened?" James replied, "A bit of hot soup splashed on my hand. It hurts." Her expression changed instantly, quickly helping him out the door. "Alex, you should go to the hospital on your own. James's hands are for playing piano. Even a tiny injury can be serious." Without waiting for Alex's response, she left swiftly with James. Alex watched her leave, his eyes turned red with tears. Alone, covered in blisters, he went to the hospital. After his wounds were treated, he stayed there for days to recover. Nurses would gossip about hospital news during rounds. "I heard there's a pianist in the VIP ward. Just a small burn on his fingertip, but his girlfriend was so worried. She brought in all these specialists. She's been helping him change bandages, feeds him, and stays by his side to make sure nothing goes wrong with his career. Several times I saw her on my night shifts, sitting by his bedside, holding his hand, gently kissing it. The way she looks at him with such deep emotion, it's captivating. I heard she's an amazing lawyer, and she's beautiful and gentle. She's really a perfect match for that handsome pianist." Alex listened in silence. His heart was numb, without any ripples. Because he was leaving soon. Because he had let her go. So no matter how much Olivia loved someone else, it had nothing to do with him anymore. 3 days later, Alex checked himself out of the hospital, ready to go home. Unexpectedly, Olivia was waiting for him at the door, helping him pack his things. "I'm off today, no work. How about I take you out for a bit?" Alex was taken aback. Throughout their marriage, Olivia had never suggested going on a date. Even when he had everything planned, picking out restaurants she liked, she'd always turn him down, saying work was too busy or she had to travel for business. He didn't know why she suddenly wanted to go out today. Was it on a whim? Or did she feel guilty for leaving him injured the other day and wanted to make it up to him? Would she even feel guilty? Olivia didn't notice his emotional change and took him to the mall, walking into a luxury store. She immediately eyed several watches and asked the salesperson to take them out, making Alex try them on one by one. The salesperson was all smiles, helping him try them on while continuously praising. This lady has such great taste. This ocean era is one of our signature pieces. It suits this gentleman perfectly, matching his aura. This gentleman is so lucky to have such a wonderful wife picking out gifts for him. It seems like the two of you have a harmonious relationship. Hearing their flattery, Olivia remained expressionless. Alex looked down at the watch on his wrist. In the past, he would have been thrilled to receive such gifts, but now he only felt it would be unnecessary to take them home. No need to buy me anything, I don't like watches. Olivia acted as if she didn't hear him, picked out a watch, and paid for it. After the salesperson finished packing, she finally turned to him, her tone indifferent. I know you don't like it. Today is James's birthday. This is for him. I wanted you to try it to make sure it's perfect. Alex was struck hard by her words. So, the reason for this outing wasn't guilt, it was to find the perfect gift for James. He was nothing but a tool from the start. Later, Olivia mentioned James had invited him to a birthday party and took him to a club. As soon as the private room door opened and they saw James, a barely noticeable smile appeared on Olivia's usually indifferent face. She handed over the gift and wished him happy birthday. James's friends gathered around to open the gift. Seeing the luxurious jeweled watch, a few girls screamed. Such an expensive watch given with a simple gesture, Olivia, you really spoil him. Truly deserving of being the top campus couple at our university. A group of people started talking, some even reminiscing about their youthful days with enthusiasm. Do you guys remember when James sprained his ankle? Olivia helped him to class and study sessions every day. Many classmates teased them after seeing them together. It was the first time I saw the usually cool campus queen look shy. There was also a time when it was trendy for girls to knit scarves for their boyfriends. Olivia stayed up all night, followed a tutorial, and spent a week knitting one for James. What stood out the most to me was when a girl tried to pursue James. After being rejected, she spread rumors about him. Olivia, a top law student, argued with her and even got into a fight. Very satisfying. As their classmates got more excited, Olivia remained silent. James's face darkened and he interrupted. All those things happened long ago. Let's not bring them up again. Olivia's husband is here today too. Let's not cause misunderstandings. Suddenly, all eyes were on Alex. The room turned awkwardly silent. Some of James's friends protested, saying, Olivia, what's your husband do? To be noticed by someone like you, he must have quite a reputation. Who is he? Olivia's voice was calm. He's unemployed. Upon hearing this, the room erupted with whispers of disdain and judgment. Your ex-boyfriend is James, a world-famous pianist, and you're now a top professional. How did your standards for a partner drop so much? To put it nicely, he's a stay-at-home husband. But in reality, he's an idle freeloader living off his wife. Alex stood in the corner, absorbing the mockery, recalling his days of dominating the workplace. Back then, any case he took on earned him millions. People treated him with respect wherever he went. Clients lined up to hire him. He had gladly returned to family life for love but became viewed as a freeloader by everyone. He smirked, finding it all ridiculously ironic. His sacrifice only moved himself. Olivia overheard the murmurs but didn't address them, simply changing the subject. Is everyone here, James? Didn't you want to play a game? The room soon buzzed with excitement as someone brought out a game spinner and they started playing. Olivia, completely focused on James, wasn't paying much attention in the first round and lost. The punishment was to reveal her phone's photo album and notes. Her classmates eagerly grabbed her phone. When they opened the photo album, they saw thousands of photos, all related to James. Photos of him from his teenage years, selfies during their relationship, and daily photos he posted after they broke up. Every photo was of James. They didn't dare to continue scrolling and quickly switched to the notes. The detailed notes recorded James's likes and dislikes, sweet memories from their relationship, and the unbearable longing after their breakup. The unmistakable love and pain in those words made everyone feel a bit distressed, their eyes flitting between Olivia and James. James, too, looked at the slightly tipsy Olivia, a complicated expression crossing his face. The room fell into a weird, suffocating atmosphere. Alex, having witnessed it all, felt a surge of emotion he could no longer hide. He rushed to the restroom to splash cold water on his face. Upon returning, he saw Olivia had lost again. This time, the punishment was to call her lifelong love and speak some heartfelt words. Though she seemed drunk, she understood the game's rules and dialed a number. Soon enough, James's phone rang in the room. When he hit the answer button, Olivia looked directly at him, a subtle smile playing on her lips. At 18, I had nothing. But having my lifelong love with me, I felt like I owned the world. Now, I seem successful on the outside, but I've lost the love of my youth and all around me is emptiness. I have nothing. Watching her pour out her unrestrained love for James in front of everyone, Alex couldn't help but laugh. But as he laughed, tears welled up in his eyes. He tilted his head back, keeping the tears from falling, turned silently, and left. Back home, Alex started to organize the assets from the divorce. After they got married, Olivia made a lot of money, which was considered marital property. By law, he could take half. But he didn't want the houses or cars, only the money, and he decided to donate all his share to charity. During this time, Olivia hadn't come back, no idea what she was busy with. But James called him, wanting to meet up and talk. The two met at a cafe, exchanged a few polite greetings. James apologized for what happened on his birthday. Alex, my friends had a bit too much to drink that day and might have said some offensive things. I hope you can let it go. Alex curled his lip, no worries, there won't be a next time. I'm leaving South City soon and I won't dwell on it. Hearing that he was leaving, James looked both surprised and pleased. You're leaving? Is it because of me? I'm sorry, Olivia and I were together once, but that was ages ago. Alex saw the delight in his eyes and looked directly into them. James, have you really let go? Even if you have, Olivia hasn't. She listens to your piano music to fall asleep every night. When she's drunk, she calls your name, and on your birthday, she always gets a cake and sits alone in the study till late. He paused, the memories weighing him down with exhaustion. No matter how hard I try, I just can't reach her heart. It's clear the true feelings can't always be reciprocated. I'm tired, so I'm letting this marriage go. James was taken aback, quickly asking, so you're really divorcing Olivia? Yes, the divorce papers are signed. Tomorrow is the last day of the cooling-off period, and after that, Olivia and I will no longer be connected. Having said his piece, Alex didn't linger to see his reaction. He got up to leave. But as soon as he opened the door, a group of James fans with banners rushed in. Alarmed, Alex quickly locked the door. People outside kept banging on it, trapping them inside with no way out. Caught off guard by the fan frenzy, James felt helpless and called Olivia for help. She arrived quickly, squeezing through the crowd to the door. James, there's no way out. The only option is for you and Alex to swap jackets so we can leave. Having experienced fan mobs before, James looked at Alex with pleading eyes. Alex felt a deep emptiness inside. She had figured out a perfect way to protect her moonlight, but what about him? With a bitter smile, Alex said nothing, just took off his jacket. After trading clothes, Olivia didn't even glance at Alex as she left with James. The door opened briefly and was quickly locked again by Alex. Wearing James' clothes, he quietly listened to the increasing chaos outside. After a long time, the fans eventually lost patience and kicked open the door. They swarmed Alex, tugging, pulling, and yanking him around. His hat, mask, and sunglasses were ripped off. Upon realizing he wasn't James, the fans turned their excitement into rage, pushing Alex to the ground, cursing him viciously. Several feet trampled him, leaving bruises and marks all over. Amidst the chaos, he curled up to protect his vital areas, feeling excruciating pain everywhere. Struggling for air, he heard angry shouts from afar. James left half an hour ago. We fell for it. Once they realized James was gone, the crowd dispersed like a retreating tide, leaving Alex battered and empty. He struggled to stand, bearing the pain as he went to the hospital for his injuries, clinging to one final thought. He would leave the city and cut all ties with Olivia. Back home, Alex booked a flight to North City. The airline called to confirm. He answered, yeah, I've got a ticket to North City, 10 a.m. flight. Before he finished speaking, Olivia walked in, hearing the time, and asked, 10 a.m.? Where are you going? Alex's gaze hardened as he hung up, responding calmly, just meeting some old friends. Friends? She casually nodded, not probing further. She took off her coat and paused upon seeing his injuries. You got hurt? I'm sorry, I didn't expect the fans to be so crazy. Not expecting or not caring, Alex smiled faintly, staying silent. Seeing his quiet demeanor, Olivia changed the subject. Anyway, you've been home too long. Getting out to meet friends is good for you, it'll broaden your horizons. With that, a message from James came in. Olivia took her phone and went to the study. Watching the door slowly close, Alex nodded slightly. After tomorrow, he'd truly see the world, no longer trapped by his own choices. The next day, Alex woke up early, finalized the divorce paperwork, and got the certificate. As he returned, he ran into Olivia heading out. He wanted to be upfront about the divorce, so he called to her, Got a minute? I have something important to say. Olivia glanced at her watch, her voice rushed, If it's important, let's talk tonight. I have to go now. Well, then there's no need to talk. This is for you. Alex said as he handed her the divorce certificate. Olivia, busy texting James, took it without looking, tossing it into the entryway drawer. Grabbing her keys, she turned and left, saying, "Okay. Aren't you meeting friends? Have fun and come back soon." No, this time he wasn't returning. Alex watched her leave one last time, replying in his heart. He packed his bags and left the villa. As the door closed behind him, he took a deep breath. 3 years of chains finally off. Goodbye, Olivia. Next time we meet, I won't be your husband. I'll be your adversary, Ellen. Olivia stood outside James' apartment building, holding a velvet box. Inside was the pair of diamond cufflinks she had asked Alex to pick out. The sun shone brightly, making the diamonds sparkle. She stared at the pendant for a few seconds and suddenly remembered Alex's hopeful, then disappointed and indifferent gaze when she asked for help trying it on. She clenched the box tightly, her knuckles slightly white. I'll buy him one later, she thought. She rang the doorbell. When James opened the door, his eyes lit up. His smile seemed like he'd been expecting her. He was wearing light-colored loungewear, looking gentle and harmless. Olivia? He blinked. What brings you here? Olivia paused for a moment but eventually just said, weren't we supposed to go out so you could find some inspiration today? James was oblivious to her concerns and nodded with a smile. I almost forgot. Just a sec, let me change my shoes. Olivia gripped the steering wheel, James's enthusiastic chatter filling the car. Normally, she'd patiently play along. But today, something felt off. Her heart felt heavy, almost suffocating. They went to the botanical garden in the suburbs. Early autumn sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting dappled shadows on the ground. James walked beside her, occasionally pointing out plants and whispering explanations. He had minored in horticulture in college and spoke with authority about it. Olivia started to relax. At noon, they ate at the garden's restaurant. James ordered her favorite dishes and a bottle of red wine. You're in a bad mood today. He poured her a drink, sounding sure of himself. Olivia looked at him. Is it that obvious? When you frown, there's a faint line here. He reached out, his fingertip hovering an inch from her brow before casually pulling back. It's been like this since college. She paused slightly. Her first thought was that Alex had said something similar before. Olivia's grip tightened slightly as her knife and fork slid across the plate, making a faint noise. James seemed oblivious. In the afternoon, they watched a movie. In the dark, James lightly covered her hand with his fingertips a bit cool. Olivia hesitated for a moment, then gently returned the squeeze. That cufflink seemed to have absorbed her warmth, though she never found the right moment to give it to him. When the movie ended, it was dark outside. James suggested going to a nearby bar. Olivia was still somewhat out of it, absent-mindedly agreeing with a nod. In the bar restroom, she splashed cold water on her face. When she looked up, her reflection had a mysterious and murky gaze. What was she doing? This was supposed to be a rare date with James, yet her mind was filled with images of Alex. She was going crazy. She dried her face, ready to leave, when she heard James's voice not far away. He seemed to be on the phone, sounding completely different from his earlier gentle tone. Don't worry. She knows nothing. Those fans did a great job. We need to make Alex suffer from internet attacks. Yeah, keep stirring it up until he's too afraid to leave his house. Olivia's body froze, feeling the blood in her veins go cold. As she took a step closer, James hung up the call. Seeing her, he looked flustered for a split second but quickly regained his composure. Have you been waiting long? He asked with a smile. Did you arrange for those fans to attack Alex? Olivia demanded. James's smile didn't waver. Olivia, what are you talking about? I heard you. She took a step forward, her presence menacing. Those stalkers, it was you. Not only that, but you planned to sick people on him online. Alex has nothing against you. He even helped your case. Why would you do that? James's expression shifted, showing faux hurt. Olivia, you must have misheard. Why would I do such a thing? Enough. She cut him off, taking a cufflink from her pocket and placing it on the table. We both need to cool down. James looked at her, incredulous. Olivia, how can you not trust me? We've known each other for so long. He reached out to grab her hand, but Olivia turned and left. Back home, the apartment was pitch dark. She turned on the light to find Alex's slippers neatly by the door. His coat was missing from the rack. He hadn't returned yet. Olivia stood in the empty living room, suddenly feeling very tired. She turned off her phone, sank onto the couch, and closed her eyes. On his first day in North City, Alex went straight to his old law firm. When he pushed open the door, every eye in the office turned to him. Familiar faces wore shocked expressions. Someone even dropped their coffee cup. Alan? Larry almost sprinted over, his voice trembling. You're really back. After the call, I thought it was a dream. Alex gave a slight smile, his gaze calm yet sharp. It's been 3 years of silence. It's about time I returned. He didn't give himself any time to adjust. He immediately took on a complex cross-border commercial dispute case that day. An overseas capital had maliciously acquired a domestic tech company involving billions in asset grabs. The opposing side had hired a top international legal team. No one in the country dared to take the case, but he signed the contract without hesitation. The trial was 3 days away. Closing the file, his voice was calm yet commanding. For me, that's enough. On the trial day, the opposing legal team was confident, thinking this lawyer, gone for 3 years, was no longer who he used to be. But as soon as Alex spoke, silence fell over the courtroom. His logic was tight, his evidence chain perfect, foreseeing the other side's arguments in advance. Every time the opposition attempted a rebuttal, he precisely pinpointed their loopholes, taking them down. According to Article 37 of the International Commercial Law, the contract you provided contains obvious fraudulent clauses and your agent deliberately withheld crucial information when signing. His voice wasn't loud, but it was piercing. This isn't just a commercial dispute. This is financial fraud. The opposing lawyer's face paled while the judge's gaze grew serious. In the end, Alex emerged victorious. On his first day back, he silenced all doubts and rumors with unquestionable professionalism. As he stepped out of the courthouse, the media swarmed around him, cameras flashing. Standing on the courthouse steps, he faced the cameras, his face composed, his words firm, leaving only one statement. Yes, Alan is back, and this time, I won't back down. Meanwhile, in the South City, Olivia returned home the next day, calling out habitually, Alex? No response. Still not back? She frowned, frustration etched in her expression. As she approached the foyer, she noticed an open drawer with a dark red document inside. She picked it up and opened it. A divorce certificate. Her eyes widened in shock, her fingers instinctively tightened around it, creasing the paper. When did this happen? Immediately, she pulled out her phone, dialing Alex's number only to hear the cold message, the user you were trying to reach is temporarily unavailable. She dialed again, but it was the same emotionless, mechanical voice. She scrolled through her contacts, trying to reach Alex's friends, only to realize she didn't even have his number saved, let alone those of his friends. She opened the chat app. Where are you? A bright red exclamation mark appeared. She suddenly realized that in the past 3 years she never once reached out to him on her own. Every conversation was initiated by Alex or she'd send a brief text. Now he was completely gone. She had no way to contact Alex. As Olivia's mind was spinning, James called. Olivia, I heard you and Alex got divorced? He sounded a bit hesitant. Olivia paused for a moment before quietly confirming, yeah. James seemed to sigh with relief and his tone lightened up. Actually, since I came back, I wanted to tell you that I never stopped thinking about you. He paused, sounding a little shy. If you're willing, we could start over. Olivia froze. She once thought hearing that from James was all she ever wanted. But right now, she was holding that divorce certificate and her home was dark. James kept talking, but her mind was filled with images of Alex. Him making soup in the kitchen, organizing her files in the study, gently reminding her to put on more clothes. Her lashes blinked slightly and those memories faded away. Olivia? Are you still there? James, sorry, I'm not in the mood to talk about this now. That's all she could manage to say. That night, Olivia sat in her study, staring blankly at her computer where the Bar Association's latest updates were displayed. Her hand gripped the mouse and didn't move for a long time. Suddenly, a news alert popped up, stunning. The once-missing legal prodigy Alan makes a high-profile comeback, crushing international law firms in his first case. She clicked on the article and was stunned by a courthouse photo. Olivia's breath caught. That face was Alex. Her fingers instinctively zoomed in on the photo, fixating on the familiar yet strange face. What's happening? Alan is Alex? She thought he was just a stay-at-home husband. Her mind went blank, whispering no way under her breath. Memories came flooding back. Alex late at night reading international commercial law on the couch. She recalled seeing the name Alan on the book's edges. She thought it was just a borrowed book or something he jotted down idly. Olivia never once considered that Alex could be Alan. But he'd analyzed James's divorce case in front of her with such precision, discussing past cases and relevant law with ease. She'd seen him paging through thick legal tomes, each marked with Alan's notes. He'd even mentioned a cross-border divorce case from 5 years ago over dinner, which she ignored. He was always right there, but she never truly saw him. She never saw her own husband clearly. Stunned, Olivia jumped up, grabbed her car keys, and ran. She had to find him, get answers. But just as she stepped out, her phone rang. It was a partner from her law firm. Olivia, did you see the news? Alan made a comeback. He's actually Alex. Her fingers tightened on the steering wheel, knuckles white. I know. Her voice was hoarse. I'm going to find him now. The voice on the other end was dumbfounded. Where are you going to find him? Isn't he already? North City. She hung up, slammed the gas pedal, and the car shot off like an arrow. Olivia reached North City late at night. She didn't go to a hotel but drove straight to the law firm. When she arrived, the building was dark. She stood below, staring at the black windows like she could see his silhouette through them. Alex Allen. Those names intertwined in her mind like a blunt knife, slowly cutting away at her sanity. She called an old classmate from the North City Lawyers Association, her voice gravelly. Can you find out Alan's real identity? The response was surprised. You didn't know? Alan is Alex. He went off the grid 3 years ago and now he's back. Wait, Alex, isn't he your husband? Confusion and shock were in the voice while Olivia's grip almost crushed her phone. The whole world knew and she was kept in the dark. Back at the hotel, Olivia sat on the bed, head splitting with pain. She scrolled through the few photos of Alex on her phone. Most were of him quietly standing in corners or cooking. She had never really taken one of his face, just like she'd never really understood him. Memories flooded back. Alex flipping through law books, edges marked with Alan's notes, she merely frowned at it. When he dissected James's divorce case in a remarkably clear manner, she wrote it off as him talking casually. He even once casually mentioned over dinner, I handled a similar case back in the day and she hadn't paid attention. He never hid anything, she just never cared enough to notice. She suddenly felt anger at Alex's silence and her own obliviousness. Olivia threw her phone against the wall and the sound of the screen shattering echoed in the silent room. The next day at the North City Intermediate Court, Alex had just wrapped up a trial, walking out with steady strides. In a sharply tailored black suit, his gaze was sharp like a knife, completely unlike the gentle Alex of the past 3 years. Alex, called a familiar voice from behind. He paused but didn't turn. Mirroring the past, Olivia caught up with him, grabbing his wrist tightly enough for him to frown. Why didn't you tell me you're Alan? Her voice was raspy, laden with suppressed anger. Alex slowly turned, looking at her with calm eyes, a cold smile on his lips. Why didn't I tell you? Olivia, for 3 years, did you ever care? You ignored me, never asked. Why now question me on hiding this from you? Olivia's breath hitched. His eyes were so cold, like he was looking at a stranger. In the busy courthouse corridor, a number of lawyers and reporters noticed their standoff and quietly observed. Alex gently withdrew his hand, smoothing out his sleeve, voice distant. Olivia, please respect yourself. We're just colleagues now, maybe even future opponents. He lifted his eyes slightly, icy gaze meeting hers. The next time we meet, it'll be in court. With that, he turned and left, his back straight as a pine, showing no signs of attachment. Olivia stood there, her hand clenching and unclenching. They were supposed to be husband and wife. She never imagined there'd come a day when they'd be strangers, possibly rivals. But the image of the divorce certificate loomed in her mind, halting any urge to chase after him. Back at the hotel, she collapsed on the floor, feeling drained. The phone was still buzzing relentlessly. James sent over 20 messages and the last one was a voice note. When she played it, she heard him sounding on the verge of tears. Olivia, I went over, but you weren't there. Did you go to him? You told me you never loved him. Olivia shut her eyes for a moment. She couldn't understand why James crying just made her feel annoyed, so she decided to just turn off her phone. She walked over to the window and took in the night view of the northern city. She suddenly remembered 3 years ago. Back then, Alex had just married her and he had asked cautiously, do you like the northern city? I grew up here. And she had just coldly replied, the southern city is better. After that, he never mentioned his hometown again. The next day, headlines on all the major legal news outlets read, shocking. Southern City legend Olivia and Northern City legal star Alan are married. The featured image was of the two of them facing off in a courthouse hallway. Alex's face was icy and Olivia's expression was complicated. The news blew up the legal world. So, Alan had been MIA for 3 years because he was Olivia's house husband? Is Olivia blind? How did she not know she married the legal star? Rumors flew around. Not verified, but word is her first love was pianist James, so did Alan become just a stand-in? The public reaction was overwhelmingly mocking towards Olivia while Alex remained silent. Late at night, Olivia found herself alone in a bar, downing one drink after another. The bartender couldn't help but warn her, you've had too much. She ignored him, losing herself in a drunken haze where she thought she saw Alex sitting opposite her, still looking gentle and softly asking, "Olivia, was work tiring today?" She reached out to touch him, but there was nothing there. Unknowingly, she had lost the most valuable person in her life. Outside the high court in the northern city, media outlets had already set up their cameras. This was a high-profile corporate murder case. A well-known entrepreneur, Bob, was accused of murdering a competitor. The evidence was solid, but the defense hired the undefeated Olivia from the southern city while the victim's family had Alan, fresh out of retirement. The courtroom was packed for the first showdown between these top lawyers. The trial began with Alex acting as the prosecutor, opening with his statement. Standing in the center of the courtroom in a sharp black suit, his voice was clear and cutting. On the night of the incident, the defendant Bob called the victim 3 times. Phone records show that after the last call, the victim's phone signal disappeared and his body was found at dawn. He clicked the remote, projecting the defendant's car's movement records. During the incident, her car appeared near the victim's neighborhood. More importantly, he paused for a second, eyes scanning the jury. "We found the defendant's DNA under the victim's fingernails." Gasps echoed in the courtroom. Olivia frowned slightly. This case was tougher than she had anticipated. When it was Olivia's turn to question the evidence, she walked over to the witness stand, her tone steady. "The car records only prove that my client passed through the area. It doesn't prove she entered the victim's home." She turned to the jury, continuing, "As for the DNA, my client and the victim had a business partnership, so prior physical contact is quite normal." Her logic was tight, her words forceful, and the case seemed evenly matched until her eyes inadvertently caught Alex. He was immersed in his documents, his profile sharp, eyelashes casting a small shadow under the lights. In that instant, Olivia was transported back to 3 years ago. He had been just like that, sitting quietly at the dinner table, waiting patiently for her to come home, and she always neglected him. "Olivia?" The judge roused her. "Please continue your questioning." Startled, Olivia forgot her next question. Alex looked up, their eyes met, and the corners of his mouth barely revealed a cold smile. In the closing statements, Alex slowly approached the jury. "The defendant claims she had a good relationship with the victim, but he pulled out a USB drive, displaying a recording from a week before the incident. It captured the defendant threatening the victim in a private club. There was no surveillance inside, but near their booth's entrance, when a waiter opened the door, a phrase was recorded. The room heard Bob's voice dripping with malice. "I'll get you. If you try to steal my project again, I'll make sure you're finished." The jury's expressions turned grave. Bob never expected someone would walk in and attempted to bribe or silence the waiter, thinking the hallway camera wouldn't mean much, just a casual drink. But the victim had no clue that drink would be his last. Alex pressed on. "The evidence is complete, the motive clear, proving this was premeditated murder, not an accident." Turning to Olivia with a gentle tone but sharp gaze, he said, "Olivia, the law doesn't bend for a defense lawyer's reputation." The words hit like a hammer, shattering her precarious tower. As the judge called for a recess, Olivia sat at the defense table, fingers tapping unconsciously. She had never been distracted in court before. But today, her thoughts were filled with Alex. His calm presentation, his sharp rebuttals, and his icy stare. Half an hour later, the judge returned the verdict. Bob was guilty of murder, sentenced to life imprisonment. Olivia lost the case. The media exploded, cameras flashing wildly, headlines quickly trending. Myth shattered. Olivia's first legal defeat, lost to ex-husband Alan. First case loss. Will Olivia lose her confidence? In the southern city, James saw the news and threw his phone against the wall urgently. "Alex, who do you think you are?" His fists clenched tight, nails digging into his palms. He couldn't believe his eyes. Olivia went to the northern city for Alex and even lost the case because of him? He wouldn't allow it. That afternoon, James secretly contacted some gossip media, anonymously tipping them off. Alan married Olivia after a one-night stand, retired for 3 years out of public boredom, and returned only for revenge. The scoop threw the internet into chaos. Alan back for revenge. Secret Olivia-Alan marriage details. Topics soared to the top trending spots. Calls bombarded Alex's law firm, swarms of reporters demanding scoops. "Alan, did you really marry Olivia through unfair means back then? Is your flashy comeback a revenge play? Are you still married to Olivia? Are you getting a divorce?" Alex, expressionless, moved through the crowd. A reporter's sharp question finally stopped him. "Did Olivia never love you?" He paused, slowly turning to face the cameras, his voice calm yet firm. "Firstly, the online claims are rumors. Secondly, Olivia and my marriage is over. I ask everyone to focus on the case, not the gossip." Then he left, standing tall and strong. That night, Olivia saw the trending news, fury building inside her. Her mind quickly ran through a list of rivals, yet none knew her marital secrets, none but one. She called James, voice icy and accusatory. "You leaked it." Her tone was certain, shutting down all of James' prepared excuses. Defensive, James protested, "I just told the truth." "The truth?" She scoffed. "The truth is, 3 years ago I was drunk and mistook him for someone else. I offered marriage to make up. You were disheartened. He was never at fault from start to finish." James broke into tears on the phone after a moment of silence. "You've fallen for him, haven't you?" Olivia didn't reply. She just hung up. Standing by the hotel window, she looked at the night scene of North City, suddenly thinking of Alex in court earlier today. Confident and dazzling. He wasn't the Alex who'd wait for her to come home anymore. Rumors have been spreading like wildfire lately. Larry closed the curtains, blocking the prying eyes from outside. The office was silent except for the faint sound of keyboard typing. "These people just won't quit. Might as well shove a camera right down your throat," he said. "Sorry for letting my personal life affect the firm," Olivia replied. Larry waved it off. "No need to apologize. I'm grateful you came back. But what are you going to do next? You can't just keep avoiding them forever." Alan turned towards the window, his sharp gaze seemingly piercing through the thick curtain down to the reporters below. "Why should I hide?" he said. The next day, media swarmed the North City International Convention Center. In a crisp white suit, Alan stood at the podium and swept a calm gaze over the flashing cameras below. He didn't bring a PR team, didn't prepare a speech, and didn't come with a lawyer. This was his fight. "Regarding the recent rumors, I'll make things clear," he began, voice cold and steady. "First, my marriage to Olivia was never a one-night stand." He clicked the remote, lighting up the screen. The first surveillance photo was from 3 years ago, showing Olivia, drunk and unconscious, being helped into an elevator by him. The third image was a text message from Olivia after she woke up, "Let's get married." The audience gasped. Alan continued, "Olivia and I have been married for 3 years and she has never fulfilled her responsibilities as a partner. Silent treatment, ignoring, even leaving me in poor health on the highway. Leaving me injured in a restaurant after a burn." With each word, the screen changed again, this time showing an emergency room report, "Patient Alex, severe burns classified as second-degree injuries." The next image was of his blistered back, graphic and shocking. And where was Olivia? The final photo popped up, showing Olivia carrying a slightly red-fingered James out of a restaurant, her eyes filled with worry and concern only for the person she held. Anyone who didn't know might think James was actually her husband in dire need. The press conference not only hosted major media representatives but was also live-streamed online. The convoluted mess involving 3 prominent figures, 2 elite lawyers, and a renowned pianist sent the internet into a frenzy. Hashtags like "Olivia sucks," "James is fake," and "Alan the victim" trended. Outraged comments flooded in. "Ugh! Olivia left her injured husband for a player? James acts all weak? Just a red finger and he's stealing someone's wife? Alan hid for 3 years as a babysitter and she doesn't even know he's a lawyer? Seriously?" James's reputation tanked fast, downgraded from charming to homewrecker, with folks unearthing past timelines proving his contact with Olivia before her separation from Alan. Keywords related to James the boyfriend stealer trended with a vengeance. The pianist's tour website got overwhelmed by angry fans, and organizers urgently canceled all upcoming concerts. At South City Law Office, partners sat, expressions dark as they watched the broadcast live. "Olivia, do you realize the impact this mess has on our firm's reputation?" The director nodded in anger, then slammed files onto the table. "We've already had 3 major clients terminate their contracts as of 10 minutes ago." Olivia sat frozen, her eyes glued to the screen on Alex's face. His calm recount of hurtful experiences sounded like he was telling someone else's story. She never realized how deeply she hurt him. In James's apartment, his phone buzzed non-stop on the coffee table, the screen flashing then dimming, over and over. He stared hard at the display. Olivia wasn't picking up. "Pick up the phone." Desperation creeping into his voice, he kept redialing, only to be met by the cold, automated voice, "The number you are calling is unavailable." Finally, the phone dropped onto the carpet, its screen shattered like a web, trapping him inside. His manager's call came through, the speaker bursting with fury. "Are you crazy? Going after Alan? Now everyone's ripping you apart online. Tours canceled, endorsements dropped, sponsors pulling. Happy now?" James breathed heavily, nails digging painfully into his palms, anger boiling over. He's the one who said they'd divorce. Yet he wouldn't let go. "I didn't do anything wrong." he yelled, hurling a vase against the wall, glass splintering everywhere. He took Olivia. Ruined my plans. Alex, who does he think he is? His voice cracked to near unknowable pitches. Just then, his phone lit with a new notification. Digging up dirt on James, affair with a married professor during his studies, winning awards through illicit means. It felt like an invisible hand gripped his throat, cutting off all sounds, leaving only frantic breaths. No way. With trembling fingers, he opened the link, pupils shrinking. A picture surfaced showing him cozied up with a married professor from his study abroad days, the caption unmistakable. Genius pianist? Or an affair climbing manipulator? Who's leaking this? Who? James surged to his feet, only to fall back onto the couch, legs giving out. His phone vibrated relentlessly with messages flooding in. Early competition scandal, judges admit pre-arrangement. Collective voice of the piano world, shunning artists with dirty histories. James fan club announces dissolution. Each notification pierced like a knife, stabbing directly at his core. He clenched the phone, knuckles white, his once fearful eyes now glistening with cold determination. Alex, this is your doing, isn't it? He murmured low, an unsteady smile tugging at his lips. If I go down, you're all coming with me. Late night at the Four Seasons Hotel in North City. Olivia wasn't much better off. She lay sprawled on the sofa, surrounded by empty bottles. She picked up her phone, instinctively dialing that number she knew by heart. Her fingers trembled slightly. For the first time in 3 years, she wanted to call him. The phone connected after a long ring. Olivia opened her mouth, wanting to ask why, wanting to ask if Alex was okay, how he's been. But in the end, why didn't you ever tell me you were Alan? She shouted, alcohol and regret burning her throat. If you'd told me earlier. The other end was silent. After a while, a robotic voice said, sorry, the user you are calling is temporarily unavailable. Turns out he had set her number to automatically go to voicemail. Olivia's hand slipped and tears fell. He couldn't even care to hear her breakdown. Meanwhile, in a northern city apartment, Alan turned off the replay of a press conference and stepped onto the balcony to light a cigarette. It's a habit he picked up recently. His phone lit up with a message from Larry, latest news, Olivia's firm's stock dropped by 40%. You interested? He swiped the notification away. The night breeze blew away the smoke rings and messed up his hair. 3 years of marriage wiped clean with one press conference. How ridiculous. In the firm's archive room, Alan stood quietly among the shelves, his fingers resting on an old case file. David's murder case. It was his first criminal defense case when he started practice 5 years ago. David stabbed a coworker over a site dispute and he was sentenced to death in the first trial. Alan fought hard for a suspended death sentence only to be threatened by David later, if I die in jail, I'll haunt you. Now the case file was in front of him again. David killed a guard in prison with his death sentence upheld in the second trial and he appealed. Alan closed the file and told his assistant, I'll handle this case personally. 3 days later, Alan ran into Olivia in the courthouse hallway. She was holding David's authorization letter. Fancy meeting you here, she said, eyes bright. Alan sneered, since when did Olivia start defending death row inmates? She was silent for a moment before speaking softly, I just wanted to see you. He walked past her without looking back. Really? See you in court then. On the trial day, David was led to the dock in shackles. When he saw Alan as the prosecutor, his eyes narrowed sharply. You. Alan calmly opened the file. Your Honor, we present new evidence. The defendant attacked inmates 3 times and was involved in illegal activities in prison. A video showed David sharpening a toothbrush and stabbing another's neck. Olivia stood to counter, these incidents aren't related to this case and don't prove murder intent. They're relevant. Alan suddenly brought up a psychiatric report. David has antisocial tendencies with a high risk of recidivism. On the guard's death day, he played footage of David stealing a guard's knife. This wasn't a crime of passion, it was premeditated murder. Olivia clenched her fists. The evidence was so tight, she couldn't find a flaw. When the judge called a recess, David broke free and lunged at Alan. If you hadn't meddled, I'd be out on medical parole. In the chaos, Olivia rushed up and pushed David down. Guards pinned him down while Olivia's hand bled from hitting the table corner. Alan stood there, his eyes flickering. 3 years ago, at the courthouse entrance, Olivia helped him and now her image overlapped with the present. Due to the violence, the trial paused. In the infirmary, Olivia had her wound dressed, finding Alan at the hallway window. She approached him, her voice hoarse. Was it him back then too? Without turning, he replied, yeah, I won the case and he nearly choked me. Her heart dropped. She never knew he faced such danger. Alex, Olivia, he interrupted, turning with a chillingly calm gaze, did you take this case to truly defend him or just to feel good about yourself? Saying you took the case to see me, Olivia, do you remember why you became a lawyer? His words were full of cynicism and doubt. Olivia opened her mouth, speechless. When the trial resumed, Olivia made a shocking decision. With the new evidence from the opposing side, the defense withdrew the appeal. David whipped around, cursing Olivia from the dock, but she only looked at Alan. You're right, some people don't deserve a defense. The judge upheld the death sentence, executing it immediately. Leaving the courthouse amidst a downpour, Olivia caught up, holding the umbrella over his head. Let me give you a ride. Alan looked at the blurred street through the rain, saying, do you know why I married you then? Without waiting for her response, he answered, because when you shielded me from David, I thought I'd found someone who'd always protect me. He walked into the rain, voice shattered by the drops, but the one who hurt me most in the end was still you. Alex. Her hand was swollen and in unbearable pain. Ignoring the rain, she ran to catch up, umbrella between them like an unbridgeable gap. I'm hurt, can you please take me to the hospital? She lifted her bruised hand, hoping he'd soften. Alan looked at her hand, saying nothing. At the North City Hospital, the emergency room lights were glaringly bright. Olivia lay on a bed, her right hand bandaged from pushing David. Alan stood beside, mechanically reading her reports, minor fracture, just rest for 2 weeks. He closed the chart, ready to leave, but she grabbed his wrist with her left hand. Alex, her voice was hoarse and broken, I just realized I always loved you, I was just too scared to admit it. Her eyes were red, emotions overflowing after years of suppression. James was just a fixation, but you're who I'm afraid to lose. Alex looked at her tense hand and suddenly laughed. Olivia, your love is so cheap. He pried her fingers away. For 3 years you ignored me, only to fall in love once you knew I was Alan? The rain intensified outside, making his words clear. If I were always just Alex, would I never have your full attention? Olivia was stunned, the foredrip reversing from her shaking. Turning the corner of the hospital hallway, the man with the baseball cap put down his camera and dialed a number. James, I got the proof they're getting back together. From the other end of the line came the sound of shattering porcelain. James's voice twisted with laughter. Great, I want it all over the internet by tomorrow. By the time Alan returned to the law firm, it was already early morning. His assistant rushed over, holding a tablet. How's Olivia's injury? The internet is buzzing about you both. On the screen was the trending topic. Olivia injured protecting ex-husband. Alan stays by her side all night. The accompanying picture was a blurry shot of him holding Olivia's hand by her hospital bed. The comments section was blowing up. Alan gave a cold laugh, flipping the tablet face down on the table. Seems she's learned some dirty tricks. Get in touch with PR and release a statement. An hour later, the firm's official account posted a stern statement. Alan's trip to the hospital was purely out of professional duty, not personal interest. Legal action will be taken against those spreading false rumors about a reunion. Attached was the full version of the hospital surveillance video, clearly showing his indifferent expression and his final decisive withdrawal. The internet turned on Olivia. Does Olivia feel embarrassed? She clearly doesn't want to be involved with him anymore. Their professional relationship was mistaken for lingering feelings. Ridiculous. When she was happily cooking and caring for you, you ignored her. And now you regret it? In the VIP hospital room, Olivia read the statement repeatedly, then suddenly pulled out her phone and got out of bed. Her assistant hurried to stop her. Olivia, your hand isn't healed yet. Move. She yanked open her hospital gown to reveal bandages, her eyes red as she dashed into the rain. Driving fast, she arrived at Alex's apartment building only to see him walking towards a black sedan with an umbrella. The young woman in the driver's seat leaned out, smiling as she took his briefcase. That was the new hotshot criminal lawyer in town who had publicly admired Alan. The rain blurred Olivia's vision and washed away any unspoken apologies. In the shadows, a camera focused on the scene once more. James, caressing the freshly received photographs, laughed softly over the phone. I've got tomorrow's headline. Alan swiftly moves on with new love, leaving injured Olivia behind. He murmured to himself, if I can't have it, no one will. Let's all go to hell together. At 3 a.m., Olivia's phone buzzed relentlessly. James had sent her a picture of a wrist-slicing scene, blood smeared on the bathtub's edge, with the message, "Farewell, Olivia." She shot up in bed, her fingers trembling uncontrollably. Despite knowing his true nature, years of responsibility stopped her from ignoring it. 20 minutes later, she kicked open the door to James's apartment, only to find him sitting on the couch, a shallow scratch on his wrist. You lied to me, her voice cold as ice. James laughed, swirling a wine glass. Would you have come if I didn't? Turning to leave, Olivia suddenly felt dizzy. The glass of water he handed her had been drugged. Before falling unconscious, the last thing she saw was James holding a phone close to her face, his smile warped. Tomorrow the world will know you chose me after all. The next morning, the internet exploded with rumors of Olivia and James spending the night together. In the blurred paparazzi shots, she lay disheveled on James's bed. Just leaving the court, Alan was swarmed by reporters. "Alan, any thoughts on your ex-wife's late-night meeting with her old flame?" Glancing at the photo, he suddenly chuckled. "I suggest you all get glasses. From this angle, it's clear Olivia's pupils are dilated, showing she isn't in a clear state of consciousness." He pushed past the microphones but added, "It doesn't concern me." That "it doesn't concern me" was sharper than any accusation. When Olivia opened her eyes in the hotel, the headlines were ablaze. She stared at her unconscious image in the photo, her eyes deep. After a moment, she grabbed her keys and rushed out. This time, a small voice recorder was in her pocket. James answered his door still in pajamas, a sly smile on his face. "Back so soon?" "Delete the photos." Olivia started the recorder. "Or I'll sue you for drugging, defamation, and invasion of privacy." James's face changed instantly. "You recorded me." "Olivia, are you crazy? Over some guy. Call him another name." She grabbed his chin, her voice low and threatening, "and I'll make sure you play piano in prison for the rest of your life." An hour later, Olivia's personal account posted a statement. "James fabricated false rumors by drugging me. Evidence collected, legal action will follow." Accompanying it was an audio recording of James admitting everything. The internet was in an uproar. What a toxic ex. Forget the piano, should win an Oscar for that act. Olivia finally seeing clearly, too bad Alan's over her now. Can't blame anyone but herself for choosing wrong, blinded by feelings. On the law firm's rooftop, the assistant softly asked Alan, "Olivia's used this to get back, huh?" Gazing at the distant neon lights, Alan replied calmly, "Get back for me? She's just cleaning up her own mess. Olivia's not one to tolerate being toyed with by any man." As he turned, his phone lit up. It was a lengthy apology message from Olivia. Alan didn't even read it, just deleted it. Late at night, James smashed everything breakable in his apartment. Through the phone, his agent coldly announced, "Every partner has dropped you. You're blacklisted." Grabbing his car keys, a wild look in his eyes, he stormed out. If he was finished, others would go down with him. For Alan, the drama between Olivia and James was no longer his concern. In 3 days, he had something far more important. The nationwide lawyers' summit debate between North and South was about to begin in town. Not only Alan's law firm, but every major firm worth mentioning would be there. It was a grand event. On the day of the debate, the North City International Conference Center was abuzz, seats completely filled. On stage, Alan in a sleek black suit stood behind a podium marked "Law Above All." Across from him, Olivia in a sophisticated gray dress, her expression calm, with the opposing theme, "Emotion is the soul of law." His assistant whispered, "With everything that's happened, she still dared to show up. Given her track record, it's understandable she was invited," Alan said, unsurprised. "Keep it down, we're about to start." The assistant hushed, focusing intently on the computer, ready to document the proceedings. The host smiled, beginning the debate. "Today's topic is special. When law conflicts with emotion, which should prevail?" The camera flashes intensified. Everyone knew this wasn't just an academic debate. It was the first public intellectual face-off between once rival lovers in the legal world. Alan, representing the affirmative side, began. "Law is law because it abandons emotional variables." Tapping his fingers on the table, he continued, "Imagine a judge leniently sentencing a murderer out of sympathy or a lawyer twisting evidence due to personal feelings. Would we need law in such a world?" He presented notorious cases that once gripped the entire nation. Take, for example, the wealthy heir DUI case from 3 years ago. Right and wrong were clear, yet public opinion demanded leniency. In the end, the court resisted pressure and upheld justice. That is the dignity of law. The room erupted in applause. When it was Olivia's turn, she remained silent for a long time. "I once believed in absolute rationality too." She suddenly looked up and stared straight at Alan until I realized while reviewing laws for a divorce case that every clause stems from the same intent to protect the emotional bond in marriage. The big screen lit up with Article 1 of the marriage law. This law aims to maintain an equal, harmonious, and civilized marital and family relationship. The legal text is the skeleton, but emotions are the flesh and blood. Her voice grew hoarse, just like it took me 3 years to realize that what truly matters isn't how many cases you win, but rather. She looked intensely at Alex. "I lost you." The room fell silent instantly. Amidst everyone's shocked gazes, Olivia stepped down from her debate position and went straight to face Alan. I mistook obsession for love. Her voice was soft, but it was enough to almost make a front-row photographer drop their camera. It wasn't until I lost you that I realized you were my only real foundation. Alan's hand paused slightly with the pen. The Olivia who harshly criticized him in the study 3 years ago and the woman now humbly standing before him overlapped and yet seemed separate. He slowly stood up and, passing by Olivia, left behind a response everyone could hear. Olivia, law doesn't accommodate assumptions. He headed toward the center podium as life offers no turning back. The big screen suddenly switched to the PPT he had prepared in advance. The irreversibility of procedural justice. Emotions can deceive, memories can embellish, but legal documents remain clear as day. He clicked the remote, showing the divorce agreement Olivia signed 3 years ago, demonstrating that once it's enacted, it cannot be revoked. Olivia's face turned pale. Suddenly, a man wearing sunglasses stood up from the back row. James. What a deep performance. He laughed sharply while removing his sunglasses, revealing a haggard face. Olivia, in order to win him back, would you overturn a case you once defended? The media cameras swung wildly towards him as he suddenly flung a stack of photos into the air. Letters Olivia had written to him scattered all around. Do you want me to read how you used to insult Alex? Calling him a boring wooden block? Olivia clenched her fist tightly. I don't recognize those. You forged those letters. In the midst of chaos, Alan banged the gavel. Everyone, this is a classic case of emotions interfering with the law. He calmly pointed to the fallen letters, indicating that when personal feelings invade the public domain, the truth becomes the cheapest casualty. His final glance at Olivia was like a judge passing a sentence. My argument is complete. The debate ended with Alex's side taking an overwhelming victory. Backstage, Olivia blocked him. Alex. You have to believe me, I didn't know he would come. Alan stared quietly at her for a long time before suddenly smiling. Does it matter? Even without James, our problems have never changed. What you love is just a fantasy of me. I've always been who I am, just a change of identity made you suddenly regret, suddenly sincere. Olivia, is your sincerity so cheap? Have your deep feelings deceived even yourself? As he walked away, Olivia suddenly shouted, what if I can prove it? He didn't turn back. At the Nanqing notary office, sunlight sloped in through the floor-to-ceiling windows as Olivia's slender fingers grasped a pen, solemnly signing the final document. The scratch of the pen on paper was particularly loud in the silent room. Olivia, do you confirm transferring all your assets under your name, including law firm shares, real estate, investments totaling $270 million to Alan's legal aid fund? The notary repeatedly confirmed. Her pen didn't pause, the tip tracing a perfect arc on the paper. Yes, I confirm. Walking out of the notary office, her assistant, with teary eyes, caught up with her, voice full of worry. Olivia, what about your future after doing this? Olivia paused, her gaze crossing the bustling traffic toward the distant courthouse's spire, as if seeing her old, ambitious self. 3 years ago when I won my first case here, her voice was light, as if speaking to herself. I only had $500 in my pocket. Now it's merely returning to the starting point. She turned to the assistant. You go back, the firm is busy now. And you? Aren't you going back? With a sigh, Olivia knew she had something important to do. At the entrance of the Legal Aid Center, Olivia was ready to submit her application, holding a bulging manila envelope as she closed the car door. Suddenly, there was the screech of tires. Olivia turned back, her pupils contracting. An unregistered sedan rushed towards her uncontrollably like a beast. Behind the windshield was James's twisted face. In a split second, she instinctively protected the folder with beneficiary details in her arms while she got violently hit by the enormous impact. In her haze, she saw James in the car, laughing maniacally. Let's go to hell together. His lips mouthed those words. Inside the law firm, Alan had just wrapped up a multinational conference, rubbing his tightly furrowed brow when his phone suddenly vibrated furiously. Olivia was severely injured in an attack, currently in emergency surgery at Nanqing Central Hospital. He stood frozen as his assistant's urgent voice blurred into white noise. Half an hour later, he stood outside the ICU, receiving the critical condition notice from the doctor. The patient has a fractured skull and internal bleeding, with less than a 30% chance of survival. The doctor whispered, direct family needs to sign. Alan stared at the spouse section, hesitating with the pen. Eventually, he called Olivia's parents. Time elongated infinitely as he waited, seated at the surgery room's door, eyes fixed on the electronic clock on the wall, lost in thought. Then the nurse handed him Olivia's belongings. A manila envelope stained with blood. Opening it, Alan was stunned. Inside were beneficiaries' profiles from their legal aid cases. He flipped through the pages, reaching Olivia's financial statements and donation records. 3 months later, a public welfare law firm, Tianping, was inaugurated in Beijing. Under the constant flicker of flashbulbs, reporters held out microphones. What's the reason for this firm's establishment named as such? Alan faced the camera, voice clear and firm. Because the law is fair, it should forever maintain balance regardless of status, position, or wealth. The applause was thunderous, with no one noticing the frail figure in the corner wearing a mask. Olivia leaned on a crutch, quietly watching him shining on stage. For the next 2 years, they became the most familiar strangers in the legal world. He helped migrant workers recover millions in unpaid wages while she, in the adjacent courtroom, provided sign language defense for a hearing-impaired defendant. He pushed for the revision of the Domestic Violence Shelter Act while she offered legal assistance to trafficked women in rural areas. Occasionally meeting at legal association conferences, he would nod slightly and she would avert her gaze. Like parallel lines, always near, never intersecting. Deep into autumn, Nanching Court's ginkgo leaves were golden as ever. Alan stood where David had once attacked him, hearing approaching footsteps in a daze. Olivia stood 10 meters away, her beige trench coat lifted by the breeze. Through a bed of fallen leaves, they exchanged glances, neither spoke. Finally, he turned toward the steps and she lowered her head, passing under the archway. As they brushed past one another, a ginkgo leaf landed on his shoulder, only to be swept away again by the hem of her coat. In the dilapidated Nanching tenements, the piercing cries of a woman broke through the night. A few lights flickered on, but no one made a move. Olivia kicked open the rickety wooden door, seeing the domestic violence victim who had sought help from her firm, now being choked against the wall by her husband, her face already turning purple. The cops are on their way. She yanked the attacker away and shielded the woman, saying, "Stop now and it'll count as ceasing the crime. You might get a reduced sentence." The man wasn't listening. He grabbed a bottle and swung it at them. Olivia blocked it with her shoulder, glass shattering, slicing her skin. "Mind your own business. Even if I beat her to death, what then?" Olivia held a piece of a broken chair leg and stared steadily at the man, losing it across the room. Behind her were the woman's sobs and a child crying. They stood there, locked in a standoff, until they heard the police sirens getting louder. The man cursed and bolted out the window. Thank you, Olivia," the woman said, holding her child and crying. "But he'll come back. He'll come back and kill us." Olivia wiped the blood from her mouth and handed over a business card. "Don't worry, they'll take you to the station to rest shortly. Tomorrow at 9, I'll help you get a restraining order. At 3 a.m. Olivia left the law office and headed alone to the parking lot. 5 guys holding metal pipes jumped at her from the shadows. "You should have stayed out of it. Who are you to mess with someone's family matters?" The one with dyed yellow hair swung at her knee. The crack was loud. These were the home abuser's friends. Olivia staggered, leaning against the wall, then started to laugh. She took out her phone and hit record. As the pipes came down relentlessly, she calmly reported, November 18, 2023, early morning, I am being assaulted by Sam and his accomplices in South City. In North City's highest court, Alan had just won a big international case. An assistant rushed over, whispering something. He paused, removing his robe, and asked, "How bad is it?" "Ruptured spleen, internal bleeding, just out of the second surgery." The assistant gave him a tablet showing a shocking headline from South City News. Renowned lawyer attacked for intervention, now in critical condition. Alan looked out at the stormy rain for a long time before finally saying, "Send some flowers." The assistant asked cautiously, "Should I add a card?" Alan shook his head, fingers absent-mindedly tracing the edge of a case file. At South City Hospital, Olivia woke up in agony. The white chrysanthemums on her nightstand hurt her eyes. These flowers were meant for funerals. "A gift from Alan," a nurse explained softly, saying it was a wish for your speedy recovery. Olivia suddenly chuckled, the laughter pulling at her wounds, blood soaking the bandages. "So heartless? Can't even bother to hate me anymore." Outside, the last sycamore leaf fell in the rain. Late at night, Alex's phone lit up twice. The first call was from South City Hospital. He knew who it was, waited for a bit, then muted it. The second was an unknown number. When he picked up, all he heard was a weak breath. 3 seconds, 5, 10. Before he hung up, he thought he heard a faint "I'm sorry." 3 months later, at a charity event for legal aid, Alan spoke as the keynote speaker. The lights briefly caught someone at the back. Olivia, leaning on a cane, stood in the shadows. His speech never faltered once. True law isn't an elite playground, but a lifeline for the weak. During the applause, a waiter handed him a folded napkin. Recognizing the writing, he read, "You're right. No signature." After the event, that figure was gone. As Alan headed back, a typhoon forced his flight to land in South City. Almost without realizing why, he had his driver take him to Olivia's apartment. In the rhythmic sweep of the wipers, he saw a withering chrysanthemum on the balcony. He stared at that window for a long time, but eventually he looked away. The news of Olivia's critical condition came on Alan's third day of a major international trial. He had just finished a grueling 7-hour case, winning huge compensation for fishermen against corporate pollution. Leaving the courtroom, an assistant rushed up with a phone showing a brief message: Olivia's old injuries worsened, critical condition. Alan paused for a minute, then continued as if nothing had happened. He locked his phone, calmly instructed to book his flight back. Late that night, he received a letter in his hotel room. The envelope was plain, the writing glaringly familiar. He stared at the signature line for a long time before carefully opening it. The letter was short, just 3 lines. "I've won countless cases, but I lost you." The writing was still sharp, but the ink seemed lighter, as if the writer lacked the strength. Alan stared at those words, remembering a night long ago. They hadn't divorced yet. He stayed up helping her organize files, making coffee and snacks. One stood, one sat, the study quiet. He saw the files on the desk and the dark circles under Olivia's eyes. The case was tough. She'd been at it for 3 days. "Think you'll win this one?" he asked softly. She laughed lightly with the confidence he knew well. "When have I ever lost?" Exactly, when had she ever lost? Seeing confident Olivia, he thought he could spend his life supporting her. But life throws curveballs. They still ended up where they did. He closed his eyes, folded the paper, then fed it into a shredder. As the machine whirred, an assistant entered, reminding him of an impending press conference. Alan stood, adjusted his suit, and walked towards the stage lights. He didn't look back once. Years later, a new statue stood on North City Law School's central lawn. A bronze male figure slightly bowed his head, holding a law book in one hand, extending the other with palm up as if lifting an invisible weight. The base had an inscription: "Justice never bows." The unveiling drew a crowd. Reporters, students, legal peers, even Supreme Court justices attended. The statue was unique. As the dean explained to the media, the scales weren't in the figure's hand, they were cast into the base, symbolizing that real justice needs no showy display. Alan stood at the front in a simple black suit, wearing only a small scales pin on his lapel. A young student whispered, "Is that the legendary lawyer? I heard he won an international environmental case and helped amend the domestic violence law." The peer nodded, adding softly, "But didn't he have something with Olivia?" "Olivia? The legal aid goddess? Isn't she long?" "Don't say it, it's past." The buzz died as a white-haired professor answered a reporter nearby. Curious, one asked, "Is it true Alan and the late lawyer Olivia were once a golden legal duo and even married?" The professor adjusted her glasses, gazed steady on Alan's calm profile. "No," she said quietly, "he always belonged to the law." Alan's expression remained unchanged, like they were discussing a stranger. The crowd thinned, but he lingered before the statue, fingers brushing the cold inscription. The setting sun stretched his shadow across the lawn to the ginkgo tree's edge. For a moment, he imagined a familiar silhouette beneath them, a trench coat corner caught in the wind, much like that day at South City Courthouse. But he knew there was nothing there. Just like the shredded letter, like the words left unspoken. He withdrew his hand and walked away. Far off, the sunset burned, an echo of a long-lost sigh.